A mother bear in distress decides to risk everything to save her family. But what she did, and who she asked for help, will challenge everything we know about animal instinct. The bitter wind howled through the snow-laden trees of Bear Creek, Montana, carrying with it the whispers of an extraordinary tale that would forever change the lives of three unlikely heroes. The morning sun struggled to pierce through the dense cloud cover, casting an ethereal glow over the frozen landscape that surrounded Ethan Anderson's ranch. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give it a like. Tell us from which city you're watching as we continue. Ethan, a seasoned rancher known throughout the small town for his almost mystical connection with animals, was conducting his routine fence inspection when something caught his trained eye. Fresh bear tracks crossed his familiar path, their pattern unusual enough to make him pause. After 2 decades of living in these mountains, he had learned to read nature's signs like others read books, and these tracks told a story that didn't quite make sense. The massive paw prints meandered erratically through the snow, unlike the purposeful stride he typically observed in the local bear population. These tracks spoke of hesitation, perhaps even distress. Ethan crouched down, his weathered hands hovering over the impressions in the snow, feeling the morning frost bite at his fingers through his worn leather gloves. As he studied the tracks more closely, his mind wandered to the changes he'd noticed in the area recently. The winter had been particularly harsh this year, forcing wildlife to venture closer to human settlements than usual. But there was something else, something that nagged at the edges of his consciousness, subtle alterations in the natural rhythm of the forest that he couldn't quite place. The sound of his phone ringing cut through the morning silence, startling a nearby group of chickadees into flight. The caller ID displayed Nora Reynolds, and Ethan couldn't help but smile. The town's veterinarian had become more than just a professional contact over the years. She was one of the few people who shared his deep connection with the animal world. "Nora," he answered, his breath visible in the frigid air. "I was just about to call you." The coincidence made him pause, and something in his gut told him this wasn't just chance. As he described the unusual tracks to her, Nora's response confirmed his suspicions. She too had been noticing strange patterns in animal behavior lately. Their conversation was interrupted by movement at the forest's edge. There, partially obscured by the morning mist, stood a massive female grizzly bear. But unlike any bear encounter Ethan had experienced before, this one seemed different. The bear's behavior was peculiar. She wasn't displaying the typical aggressive or defensive posture he would expect. Instead, she paced back and forth, occasionally looking in his direction and making sounds that seemed more like calls than threats. Without hesitation, Ethan knew he needed help. He reached out to Jack Morrison, an old friend and experienced logger who knew these woods as well as he did. Jack's practical knowledge of the area's wildlife and his level-headed approach to dangerous situations made him an invaluable ally in whatever was unfolding. As Ethan waited for his friends to arrive, he maintained a respectful distance from the bear, observing her unusual behavior. The animal continued her strange dance at the forest's edge, moving with an urgency that seemed to carry purpose rather than panic. Years of experience told him that something was very wrong, but also that this bear wasn't acting out of aggression. She was trying to communicate. The sound of approaching vehicles signaled the arrival of Nora and Jack. They emerged from their respective trucks, bundled against the cold, their faces etched with concern and curiosity. The three friends stood together, watching the bear's peculiar performance, each drawing from their unique experiences to try to understand what they were witnessing. "I've never seen anything like this," Jack muttered, his usual stoic demeanor tinged with wonder. "She's trying to tell us something." Nora nodded in agreement, her professional training warring with the unprecedented nature of the situation. The bear turned toward them once more, letting out a sound that seemed to carry both desperation and restraint. Then, slowly, deliberately, she began to move toward the forest, looking back at them as if expecting them to follow. The three friends exchanged glances, years of trust and shared experiences passing between them in that silent moment. They knew the risks of following a wild animal into the forest, especially in these harsh winter conditions. But they also knew that sometimes the most extraordinary moments in life come from taking calculated risks, from listening to that quiet voice of intuition that speaks through years of experience. The decision to follow the bear into the forest wasn't made lightly. As experienced outdoors people, Ethan, Nora, and Jack knew the risks they were taking. The morning sun barely penetrated the dense canopy of pine trees, casting long shadows across the snow-covered ground. The bear maintained a steady pace, occasionally glancing back as if to ensure her human followers hadn't lost their way. "She's leading us somewhere specific," Nora whispered, her professional curiosity evident in her voice. The veterinarian's years of experience with wildlife had taught her to read animal behavior, and everything about this situation defied conventional wisdom. The bear's deliberate movements and constant checking on them suggested a level of intention that she had never encountered before. Jack kept a watchful eye on their surroundings, his logger's instincts alert to every sound and movement in the forest. The accumulated snow made their progress challenging, each step requiring careful consideration. The cold was intensifying, seeming to seep through their layers of winter clothing. Their breath formed thick clouds in the frigid air, and the silence of the forest was broken only by the crunch of their boots in the snow and the occasional distant call of a winter bird. "The lake's ahead," Ethan murmured, recognizing the terrain. The partially frozen body of water was a familiar landmark to all of them, though they rarely ventured this close to it during the harsh winter months. The bear's path had been leading them directly toward it, her purpose becoming clearer with each step. As they approached the lake's edge, the bear's behavior changed. Her movements became more agitated, and the sounds she made carried a new urgency. The three friends stopped at the tree line, taking in the scene before them. The lake stretched out like a vast white plain, its surface a patchwork of thick ice and treacherous thin spots. Then they saw it, the reason for the bear's desperate plea for help. In the center of the lake, where the ice was dangerously thin, a small dark shape was visible through a crack in the surface. The bear cub's struggles were growing weaker, its small form fighting to stay above the freezing water. The mother bear's distress suddenly made perfect sense. She had sought out human help in a desperate attempt to save her child. "Dear God," Nora breathed, her professional composure momentarily cracking at the sight. The cub's predicament was dire, and time was clearly running out. The mother bear positioned herself at the edge of the lake, her soft whimpers a heart-wrenching sound that seemed to transcend the barriers between species. Jack immediately began assessing the ice's condition, his experienced eye noting the varying thicknesses and danger zones. "We need to act fast," he said, already shrugging off his heavy backpack, "but one wrong move out there could put us all in the same situation as that cub." Ethan's mind was racing, calculating distances and possibilities. The ice nearest the shore was thick enough to hold weight, but it gradually thinned toward the center, where the cub was trapped. The challenge wasn't just reaching the animal. They would need to find a way to distribute their weight and create a stable rescue platform. "We need to spread the load," he said, already formulating a plan. "Jack, those ropes you always carry, and we'll need those dead branches." He pointed to some fallen timber partially buried in the snow. "We can create a makeshift bridge." As they began gathering materials, the gravity of their situation became even more apparent. The temperature was dropping rapidly, and dark clouds on the horizon promised worse weather to come. The cub's movements were becoming more sluggish, its small body fighting against the overwhelming cold of the water. The mother bear watched their every move, her behavior displaying an almost impossible level of trust and understanding. She maintained her position at the lake's edge, occasionally pacing but never showing any aggression toward the humans who were working to save her cub. Her eyes seemed to hold an intelligence that challenged everything they thought they knew about wild animals. "I've got the medical supplies ready," Nora said, preparing for the moment they would hopefully retrieve the cub. She had spread thermal blankets on a relatively flat area and arranged her emergency kit, knowing that every second would count once they got the cub out of the water. The wind was picking up now, adding another layer of complexity to their already dangerous task. The sound of cracking ice echoed across the lake's surface, a chilling reminder of the precarious nature of their rescue attempt. They would have only one chance to get this right, and the consequences of failure were unthinkable. The rescue operation began with methodical precision, each member of the unlikely trio falling into their natural roles. Jack, with his years of experience handling heavy equipment and understanding structural integrity, took charge of assembling their makeshift rescue platform. His calloused hands worked quickly, weaving together branches and rope in a pattern that would distribute weight across the fragile ice. "The ice structure reminds me of the spring thaw patterns," Ethan observed, helping Jack secure the wooden planks. "We need to account for those stress points." His intimate knowledge of the local environment proved invaluable as they planned their approach. Every crack in the ice, every subtle change in coloration, told a story about where it was safe to step and where disaster lurked beneath the surface. Nora kept a professional eye on both the trapped cub and its mother, monitoring their conditions while assisting with the rescue preparations. The cub's movements were becoming increasingly lethargic, a clear sign that time was running out. The mother bear remained surprisingly calm, though her eyes never left her struggling offspring. As they worked, Jack noticed something peculiar along the tree line. "Hold up," he said, moving closer to investigate. There, partially obscured by fresh snow, were human footprints. They weren't recent, perhaps a few days old, but their presence in this remote location was unexpected. The tracks formed an unusual pattern, as if someone had been pacing back and forth, watching the lake. "Those weren't here last week during my regular patrol," Ethan mentioned, his brow furrowing with concern. The discovery added another layer of mystery to their already complex situation, but the urgent needs of the present demanded their full attention. The cubs' weakening cries drove them back to their rescue efforts with renewed urgency. Their first attempt to extend the rescue platform across the ice met with near disaster. One of the main support ropes slipped from Jack's grasp, sliding across the ice and into the water near the trapped cub. The loss of the rope forced them to modify their plan quickly, working with their remaining materials to create an alternative solution. "We need to redistribute the weight differently now," Jack said, already adjusting the remaining ropes. "Ethan, those branches you gathered might work as counterweights." The challenges were mounting, but so was their determination. The mother bear seemed to sense their dedication, her soft whimpers taking on an almost encouraging tone. The wind had picked up considerably, driving sharp particles of ice and snow into their faces as they worked. The temperature continued to drop, and the darkness of the clouds overhead promised worse weather to come. The creaking and groaning of the ice beneath their feet created an eerie soundtrack to their efforts. Nora, while preparing more thermal blankets, made another unsettling discovery. "Look at these marks on the trees," she called out, pointing to some unusual scratches on the bark. They weren't typical bear markings. They seemed deliberate, almost like signals of some kind. The mystery of human presence in the area deepened, but they couldn't spare the time to investigate further. Their modified rescue platform was finally taking shape, but each step forward seemed to bring new challenges. The ice beneath their construction began to show signs of stress, thin cracks spreading like spiderwebs across its surface. They needed to work faster, but the increasing wind and deteriorating visibility made every movement treacherous. Ethan took the lead in testing their creation, carefully distributing his weight across the wooden planks. The ice groaned ominously beneath the structure but held. As he inched forward, the mother bear watched intently, her massive form tense but still showing no signs of aggression. The trust she placed in these humans seemed to defy all natural instincts. The rescue platform extended about halfway to the trapped cub when they heard it, a deep, resonating crack that echoed across the lake. Everyone froze, hearts pounding, as they waited to see if their efforts would quite literally fall through. The sound seemed to hang in the air, a warning of the thin line they walked between success and catastrophe. In that tense moment, Jack spotted movement in his peripheral vision, something darting between the trees at the edge of the forest. His experienced eyes narrowed, recognizing the shapes of multiple creatures moving in the shadows. The situation was about to become even more complicated, and they all knew their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. The shadows between the trees began to take shape, revealing what Jack had feared. A pack of coyotes had been drawn to the scene. Their lean forms moved with practiced precision, testing the periphery of the rescue operation. The predator's arrival added a new dimension of danger to an already precarious situation. "They must have been tracking the bears," Nora whispered, her professional knowledge kicking in. The coyotes' opportunistic nature meant they had likely been following the distressed bears, waiting for a moment of vulnerability. The trapped cub and the distracted mother presented exactly such an opportunity. The mother bear's reaction was immediate and fierce. Despite her earlier exhaustion, she positioned herself between the approaching coyotes and the rescue operation, her massive form a protective barrier. Her low growls carried both warning and determination, a clear message to the circling predators that she would defend her cub at any cost. Jack reacted quickly, reaching into his pack and pulling out a metal tool. With swift, deliberate movements, he began striking it against a nearby tree trunk, creating a sharp, reverberating sound that echoed through the forest. The harsh metallic clanging cut through the winter air, causing the coyotes to hesitate in their approach. The wind was picking up significantly now, driving sheets of snow across the lake's surface. The approaching storm system had arrived sooner than expected, bringing with it a bone-chilling drop in temperature. The darkening sky created an almost twilight-like atmosphere, despite it being mid-morning. "We need to speed this up," Ethan called out, his voice barely audible over the strengthening wind. The rescue platform, their lifeline to the trapped cub, swayed precariously in the gusting wind. The wooden planks and ropes creaked under the strain, a constant reminder of how fragile their construction was. Through the swirling snow, they could see the cub's movements becoming increasingly feeble. The prolonged exposure to the freezing water was taking its toll, and time was running out. Nora had positioned herself near the shore with her medical supplies, ready to begin treatment the moment the cub was retrieved. But the deteriorating weather conditions threatened to complicate even that crucial phase of the rescue. The coyotes, though temporarily startled by Jack's noisemaking, hadn't retreated far. They moved like shadows through the trees, their presence a constant threat that required vigilance. The mother bear maintained her protective stance, dividing her attention between her trapped cub and the circling predators. A particularly strong gust of wind sent a shower of snow and ice particles across the lake, temporarily obscuring visibility. When it cleared, Ethan noticed something that made his heart skip a beat. New cracks were forming in the ice around their rescue platform. The structure they had so carefully constructed was being tested to its limits by both the weather and the natural movement of the ice beneath. Jack continued his strategic noisemaking, moving around the perimeter to keep the coyotes at bay. The metal striking against different trees created a makeshift barrier of sound, but he knew it was only a temporary solution. The predators were hungry and determined, their patience a testament to their hunting strategy. Through the increasing snowfall, something caught Nora's attention, a flash of movement high above the trees. For a brief moment, she thought she heard the distant thrum of helicopter blades, but the sound was quickly swallowed by the howling wind. The possibility of aerial activity in such remote territory and brutal weather conditions added another puzzling element to their already mysterious situation. The mother bear suddenly tensed, her attention drawn to something beyond the tree line. Her reaction caused the coyotes to freeze in their tracks, all predators momentarily united in their response to an unknown stimulus. The humans, too, felt a shift in the atmosphere, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. The storm continued to intensify, the wind driving the temperature even lower. The cracking ice and howling wind created an eerie symphony, punctuated by the occasional sound of branches breaking under the weight of accumulating snow. Against this backdrop of nature's fury, the group realized they were running out of options. They needed to complete the rescue soon, or the storm would make it impossible. The mother bear's determined stance, despite her visible exhaustion and the numerous threats surrounding them, served as an inspiration to the human rescuers. Her unwavering focus on protecting her cub, even in the face of multiple dangers, reminded them of the power of parental love and the strength it could summon in desperate times. The storm's intensity continued to build, transforming the peaceful mountain landscape into a battlefield against the elements. Visibility had deteriorated to the point where the rescue team could barely see more than a few feet ahead. The trapped cub's cries had grown alarmingly weak, each sound more feeble than the last, spurring the rescuers to take greater risks. Ethan inched forward on the makeshift platform, every movement calculated and precise. The ice beneath groaned ominously, its protests barely audible over the howling wind. Behind him, Jack maintained tension on the safety line while continuing to monitor the lurking coyotes, who remained persistent despite the worsening weather. Then, something extraordinary happened. The mother bear, who had been watching their efforts with increasing anxiety, began to move purposefully toward the rescue platform. Her massive weight caused the ice to crack and shift, sending spikes of panic through the human rescuers. But rather than causing catastrophe, her movements seemed deliberate, almost calculated. "Don't move," Nora called out, her veterinary experience allowing her to read the bear's body language. "She's trying to help." Indeed, the bear was positioning herself in a way that actually helped stabilize a section of the ice that had been threatening to give way. Her enormous body served as a counterweight, distributing the pressure and creating a more stable rescue environment. This unexpected cooperation between species left them momentarily awestruck. The mother bear's intelligence and apparent understanding of the physics at play challenged everything they thought they knew about wild animals. Her actions demonstrated not just instinct, but a level of reasoning that seemed almost human. Ethan seized this opportunity to make his final approach to the cub. The platform creaked and swayed beneath him, but the bear's strategic positioning helped maintain its stability. He was almost within reach of the trapped cub when a particularly violent gust of wind caught him off guard. His foot slipped, and for a heart-stopping moment, he teetered on the edge of disaster. "Hold on!" Jack's voice cut through the wind as he quickly adjusted the safety line, preventing what could have been a catastrophic fall. The mother bear watched intently, her dark eyes fixed on Ethan's every move, as if understanding the precariousness of the situation. Nora had positioned herself closer to the edge of the ice, ready with thermal blankets and emergency supplies. She could see the mother bear's growing exhaustion, noticed how the massive animal was favoring one leg as she maintained her stabilizing position. Yet despite her obvious fatigue, the bear's determination never wavered. Through the swirling snow, they could still make out the shadows of the coyotes moving among the trees. The predator's persistence was remarkable, their hunting instincts driving them to wait out the situation despite the deteriorating conditions. Jack's occasional metallic clanging kept them at bay, but their presence remained a constant threat. The wind carried with it not just snow and ice, but also an unsettling sound. The distant whop-whop of helicopter blades growing fainter rather than stronger. The mysterious aircraft seemed to be circling the area, though its purpose remained unclear. Its presence in such severe weather conditions added another layer of mystery to their already extraordinary situation. Ethan made one final, careful adjustment to his position. The cub was now within arm's reach, its small form shivering violently in the freezing water. The mother bear watched anxiously, her breath coming in visible puffs in the frigid air. Her trust in these humans, her natural adversaries to save her cub, was a testament to the power of maternal instinct and desperation. The storm continued to intensify around them, the wind driving sheets of snow across the lake's surface. The temperature had dropped even further, making every movement more difficult as their muscles stiffened with cold. Time was running out, not just for the cub, but for all of them. The weather was deteriorating rapidly, and their window of opportunity was closing fast. Nora observed the mother bear's labored breathing and subtle signs of distress. Despite the animal's incredible display of strength and intelligence, she could see that the bear was approaching her physical limits. The combination of cold, stress, and the strain of maintaining her precarious position was taking its toll. Through the curtain of swirling snow, they could barely make out the shoreline anymore. The storm had transformed the familiar landscape into an alien world of white, where distance and perspective became distorted. Yet in this harsh environment, an extraordinary drama of survival and cooperation was unfolding, bridging the gap between species in ways none of them had thought possible. The moment of truth had arrived. With the mother bear providing crucial stability to the ice, Ethan made his final move to reach the cub. His hands, numbed by the bitter cold, stretched out across the remaining distance. The cub's weakened state actually worked in their favor, as it offered little resistance to being handled. "Easy now," Ethan murmured, more to steady himself than to calm the cub. With extreme care, he began to work his arms under the small bear's body. The freezing water bit at his skin through his sleeves, but he refused to let the discomfort distract him from the delicate task. The cub was surprisingly heavy, its fur weighted down with ice and water. Nora watched intently, her medical supplies ready. Years of veterinary experience had prepared her for many situations, but this was unprecedented. The mother bear remained in her stabilizing position, her dark eyes fixed on every movement. The trust she displayed in these humans continued to amaze them all. With painstaking slowness, Ethan began to lift the cub from the water. Each movement had to be precise, too fast, and they risked further cracking the ice too slow and the cub might slip from his grasp. Jack maintained constant tension on the safety line, ready to react at a moment's notice if anything went wrong. Finally, the cub was free of the water. Ethan cradled it close to his body, trying to share what warmth he could as he began the careful retreat across the rescue platform. The cub's small body shook violently, its fur already beginning to freeze in the bitter wind. Time was now more critical than ever. The mother bear, seeing her cub being lifted to safety, let out a soft sound that seemed to carry both relief and concern. She maintained her position, somehow understanding that her role in stabilizing the ice was still crucial. Her behavior continued to challenge everything they thought they knew about wildlife intelligence. As Ethan reached stable ice, Nora sprang into action. She had prepared a treatment area as sheltered as possible from the wind, with thermal blankets spread out and emergency supplies at the ready. The cub was quickly wrapped in the specially designed blankets, its small form shivering uncontrollably. "The body temperature is dangerously low," Nora reported, her professional demeanor masking her emotional investment in the situation. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency as she began emergency treatment procedures. The cub's breathing was shallow but steady, a promising sign given its ordeal. The mother bear finally moved from her position, approaching the treatment area with careful steps. Her exhaustion was evident in her movements, but her focus never wavered from her cub. The humans gave her space while continuing their work, maintaining a delicate balance between providing care and respecting the wild nature of their patients. Then, something remarkable happened. The mother bear, instead of reclaiming her cub immediately, settled herself nearby, watching Nora work with what could only be described as trust. She seemed to understand that these humans were helping, not harming, her offspring. Her behavior defied natural instincts and common wisdom about wild animal behavior. The storm continued to rage around them, but in their small shelter, a miracle of cross-species cooperation was unfolding. The cub's condition began to improve under Nora's care, its shivering becoming less violent as the thermal blankets did their work. Small movements and sounds from the cub brought visible relief to both the humans and the mother bear. Jack maintained his vigilance against the coyotes, though the predators had become less visible in the intensifying storm. The metallic clanging he had used to ward them off was now barely audible over the howling wind, but their occasional shadows could still be glimpsed moving through the trees. Throughout the treatment, the mother bear's patience was extraordinary. She watched every movement, every procedure with intense focus, but showed no aggression. Her trust in these humans seemed to grow with each passing moment as she witnessed their efforts to save her cub. The wind had driven the temperature even lower, and ice was forming on their clothing and equipment. The storm's intensity made it clear that they needed to finish their work quickly. The weather was becoming too severe for anyone, human or bear, to remain exposed much longer. Yet in this harsh environment, amid all the dangers and challenges, they had achieved something remarkable, a moment of perfect understanding between species, driven by compassion and the universal instinct to protect the young. With the cub's conditions stabilizing under Nora's care, the group began planning their retreat from the frozen lake. The storm had transformed the landscape into an almost unrecognizable white void, making their return journey as dangerous as the rescue itself. The mother bear stayed close to her cub, her massive form providing some shelter from the relentless wind. "We need to move now," Jack announced, his experienced eyes scanning the deteriorating conditions. The ice beneath their feet had been under tremendous strain, and the temperature changes brought by the storm were making it even more unpredictable. As if to emphasize his point, a new series of cracks suddenly appeared in the ice nearby, the sound sharp and threatening even over the howling wind. Ethan reacted instantly, pulling Nora and the cub away from the spreading fissure. The mother bear sensed the danger as well, moving with surprising agility despite her exhaustion. The ice continued to crack, creating a spider web pattern that threatened to cut off their escape route. The group was forced to adjust their path, moving away from their original trail. The new route would take them closer to the tree line where the coyotes had been lurking, but they had no choice. The unstable ice left them no alternatives. Jack took point, testing each step carefully while keeping watch for any movement in the forest. The cub, still wrapped in thermal blankets, was showing more signs of life, occasionally making small movements and soft sounds that brought relief to both its human rescuers and its mother. Nora cradled it carefully as they moved, constantly monitoring its condition. The mother bear stayed close, matching their pace step for step, her protective instincts never wavering. As they approached the shoreline, a new sound cut through the storm, the ominous creaking of wood under strain. They looked up to see a massive pine tree, its branches heavy with snow and ice, swaying dangerously in the powerful wind. The tree had been weakened by the extreme conditions, its roots losing their grip in the frozen soil. "Look out!" Jack's warning came just as the tree began to fall. The group scattered, moving as quickly as they dared on the treacherous surface. The tree crashed down with tremendous force, sending vibrations through the ice and throwing up a cloud of snow. When the air cleared, they found their path blocked by a massive tangle of branches and trunk. The mother bear, startled by the falling tree, had positioned herself protectively near the humans carrying her cub. Her reaction spoke volumes about the extraordinary trust that had developed between them. Instead of fleeing or becoming aggressive in the face of danger, she seemed to recognize that their safety was intertwined with that of her cub. Finding a way around the fallen tree proved challenging. The thick branches, now rapidly accumulating more ice and snow, created a formidable barrier. The detour would force them to navigate through deeper snow and potentially unstable ground. Every minute spent exposed to the elements increased the risk to both the cub and its rescuers. Their progress was painstakingly slow. Each step had to be carefully considered, the weight of the snow making every movement exhausting. The mother bear followed their path exactly, her powerful form actually helping to pack down the snow, making it somewhat easier for those following behind. The storm's intensity seemed to increase with every passing moment. The wind drove sheets of snow and ice horizontally across their path, reducing visibility to mere feet. The temperature continued to drop, and ice was forming on their equipment and clothing. Even their breath froze instantly in the air, creating small clouds of ice crystals. Through the swirling snow, the shadows of the coyotes could still occasionally be glimpsed, moving parallel to their path. The predator's persistence was remarkable, though the falling tree and deteriorating weather had forced them to maintain a greater distance. The mother bear remained alert to their presence, her protective instincts dividing between her cub and watching for threats. As they worked their way around the fallen tree, Nora noticed something strange about the break in the trunk. Despite the extreme weather conditions, the way the tree had fallen seemed oddly clean, almost too precise. She wanted to investigate further, but the urgent need to get the cub to safety took precedence. Yet another mystery was added to the growing list of unusual circumstances surrounding their adventure. The group finally cleared the obstacle, but the detour had cost them precious time and energy. The storm showed no signs of letting up, and they still had a considerable distance to cover before reaching safety. The bond that had formed between the humans and bears would be tested further as they faced the remaining challenges of their journey together. As they pressed on through the storm, the first real signs of the cub's recovery began to emerge. The small bear started moving more deliberately within its thermal wrapping, its eyes more alert and responsive to its surroundings. Nora's expert care, combined with the cub's natural resilience, was proving successful against the odds. "The body temperature is normalizing," Nora announced, her professional tone barely concealing her relief. She had been monitoring the cub's vital signs continuously throughout their journey, and this was the first truly positive development since the rescue. The mother bear, hearing the change in Nora's voice, moved closer, her eyes fixed on her offspring. The storm continued its assault on the landscape, but they had found a somewhat sheltered path through the trees. Jack led the way, his logger's knowledge of the forest proving invaluable as he identified the safest route through the wilderness. The wind, though still fierce, was partially blocked by the dense evergreens, giving them brief moments of respite. Ethan noticed something remarkable about the mother bear's behavior. Despite her obvious exhaustion and the lingering limp in her gait, she had positioned herself to block the worst of the wind from reaching the group. Her massive form created a natural windbreak, and she adjusted her position whenever the wind changed direction. This deliberate protection of both her cub and its human rescuers demonstrated an intelligence that defied conventional understanding of wild animals. The cub let out a stronger cry, markedly different from its earlier weak sounds. The mother bear responded immediately with a soft rumble, a sound that seemed to carry both reassurance and relief. The interaction between mother and cub brought smiles to the faces of the human rescuers, despite their exhaustion and the biting cold. As they navigated through a particularly dense section of forest, Nora made an observation that caught everyone's attention. "Look at how she's marking the trail," she said, gesturing to the mother bear. The animal was deliberately brushing against certain trees, leaving signs that could be followed. Whether this was instinctive behavior or something more intentional was unclear, but it was helping them maintain their direction in the near whiteout conditions. The coyotes had become less visible, though their presence could still be sensed on the periphery of their awareness. The combination of the storm's intensity and the mother bear's protective behavior seemed to have convinced the predators to keep their distance. Jack maintained his vigilance nonetheless, knowing that desperate hunters could become unpredictable. The cub's increasing alertness brought new challenges. It began attempting to move more within its wrappings, instinctively trying to get closer to its mother. Nora had to adjust her grip frequently, always conscious of maintaining the delicate balance between restraint and comfort. The mother bear watched each adjustment carefully, but showed no signs of anxiety, her trust in these humans now seemingly absolute. Through the swirling snow, bursts of color occasionally illuminated the sky, the beginning of what promised to be a spectacular aurora borealis. The natural light show seemed to captivate both humans and bears alike, creating moments of shared wonder amid their challenging journey. These brief glimpses of beauty provided welcome contrast to the harsh conditions they were enduring. The group's dynamic had evolved into something extraordinary. What had begun as an emergency rescue had transformed into a partnership that transcended the natural boundaries between species. The mother bear's intelligent cooperation and the humans' respectful assistance had created a unique bond, one that challenged everything they thought they knew about the relationship between humans and wild animals. Despite their progress, the storm showed no signs of abating. Ice continued to form on their clothing and equipment, and the temperature seemed to drop with each passing moment. Yet the successful rescue and the cub's improving condition provided the motivation they needed to press on. They had come too far and achieved too much to let the weather defeat them now. Nora continued her professional assessment of the cub, but her observations had taken on an additional dimension. She found herself studying the mother bear's behavior with equal intensity, mentally documenting the extraordinary level of intelligence and trust the animal was displaying. This experience would challenge and change many of her previous assumptions about wildlife behavior. As they pushed forward through the storm, the interaction between the humans and bears had evolved into something that felt almost choreographed. They moved as a single unit, each member of this unlikely group contributing to their collective survival. The mother bear's protective presence, the humans' medical expertise and wilderness knowledge, all combined to create a remarkable example of cross-species cooperation. The sky above began to transform, despite the storm's continuing fury. The aurora borealis was gaining strength, its ethereal lights penetrating even through the dense snow clouds. Ribbons of green and purple danced across the heavens, creating an otherworldly backdrop to their extraordinary journey. The mother bear paused momentarily, her massive head tilted upward as if appreciating the celestial display. The cub, too, seemed captivated by the lights, its small face emerging from the thermal wrappings to watch the sky. This shared moment of wonder between humans and bears added another layer to their already remarkable connection. "I've never seen the lights this intense," Ethan remarked, his voice barely audible over the wind. The aurora's glow cast strange shadows through the trees, transforming the familiar forest into something almost magical. The snow caught the colored light, creating a kaleidoscope effect that seemed to surround them. Nora took advantage of their brief pause to check on the cub once again. Its condition continued to improve. The small bear was now maintaining a stable body temperature and showing increased awareness of its surroundings. The mother bear watched the examination with what could only be described as patient understanding, her trust in the veterinarian now complete. The wind had shifted slightly, driving the snow in new patterns through the trees. Jack noticed that the change in weather had also affected the aurora's visibility, creating moments when the entire forest was bathed in shifting colors. These brief instances of extraordinary beauty provided welcome contrast to the harsh conditions they were enduring. Through the colorful display, they could see that they were approaching a more densely wooded area. The mother bear's behavior changed subtly. She seemed more familiar with this territory, more confident in her movements. Her occasional glances back at the group appeared almost encouraging, as if she was reassuring them they were on the right path. The cub was becoming more active, making small attempts to move toward its mother. Nora adjusted her hold carefully, maintaining the delicate balance between keeping the young bear secure and allowing it natural movement. The mother bear's patience was remarkable. She stayed close enough to comfort her offspring, but trusted the humans to continue their care. The aurora's intensity continued to build, creating an almost daylight-bright environment despite the late hour and storm conditions. The phenomenon seemed to affect everything around them. The snow appeared to shimmer with otherworldly colors, and even the ice crystals in the air caught and reflected the celestial light show. Their unlikely group had fallen into a natural rhythm of movement, each member instinctively adjusting to accommodate the others. The mother bear's protective presence, the humans' careful attention to the cub, and their collective navigation through the challenging terrain had created a harmony that seemed to transcend species boundaries. Jack, still vigilant despite the mesmerizing display above, noticed that the coyote's presence had diminished even further. The combination of the storm, the lights, and their united group seemed to have convinced the predators to seek easier hunting grounds. Yet he maintained his watchful stance, knowing that in the wilderness situations could change in an instant. The storm's intensity began to vary, creating moments when the aurora was perfectly visible, followed by periods when the swirling snow obscured everything. During one particularly clear moment, they witnessed a spectacular surge of color across the sky, curtains of light that seemed to dance and pulse with their own rhythm. The cub responded to the display with increased movement, making small sounds that drew immediate attention from its mother. The bear's response was gentle, a soft rumble that seemed to capture both reassurance and shared wonder at the natural phenomenon above them. This interaction between mother and cub, set against the backdrop of the northern lights, created a moment of pure magic. Nora found herself documenting mental notes about the bear's behavior, knowing that this experience would challenge many established theories about wildlife interaction with humans. The mother bear's continued trust, the cub's improving condition, and their shared response to the aurora created a unique opportunity for understanding these magnificent creatures in a new light. As they continued their journey under the illuminated sky, the bond between the humans and bears seemed to strengthen even further. The shared experience of the rescue, the challenging return journey, and now this magnificent natural display had created connections that defied conventional understanding of human-wildlife relationships. As they continued their journey through the illuminated storm, Ethan's mind kept returning to the mysterious elements they'd encountered throughout the day. The human footprints they'd discovered earlier, the strange markings on the trees, and the inexplicable sound of helicopter rotors in such severe weather, none of it added up to a coherent picture. Jack, too, had been pondering these anomalies. His years of experience in these woods had taught him to notice patterns, and something about this situation felt deliberately orchestrated. The way the tree had fallen across their path earlier, its break too clean for natural causes, nagged at his consciousness. The mother bear suddenly tensed, her attention drawn to something beyond their immediate visibility. Her reaction caused the group to pause, all senses alert for potential danger. Through the swirling snow and the ethereal light of the aurora, shadows seemed to move with purpose among the trees. "There," Nora whispered, nodding toward a cluster of pines. In the multicolored light of the aurora, they could make out what appeared to be some sort of marking on one of the trunks. It wasn't a natural formation. The pattern was too regular, too intentional. The mother bear's behavior suggested she was familiar with these markings, her path deliberately taking them past these tagged trees. The cub, still wrapped in thermal blankets but now more alert, made a soft sound that drew its mother's attention. The larger bear's response was immediate but gentle, a reassuring rumble that seemed to carry meaning beyond simple animal communication. Their interaction continued to challenge everything Nora thought she knew about ursine behavior. Through a brief break in the storm, they caught another glimpse of the mysterious helicopter. Its dark shape moved against the colorful backdrop of the aurora, its presence as out of place as the manufactured markings on the trees. The aircraft's flight pattern seemed systematic, as if searching for something or someone. Their path led them through an area where the snow had been disturbed in a peculiar way. Jack's experienced eye noted that the patterns didn't match any natural wildlife movement he'd ever encountered. "These tracks," he said, crouching to examine them more closely. "They're recent, despite the fresh snow. Someone's been through here regularly." The mother bear's reaction to these signs was perhaps the most intriguing element. She showed no surprise at the human presence markers, instead seeming to use them as navigation points. Her behavior suggested a familiarity with human activity in this area that went beyond random encounters. Ethan noticed something else: small devices attached to some of the trees, partially covered by snow and ice. They looked like some kind of monitoring equipment, though their purpose wasn't immediately clear. The presence of this technology in such a remote area added another layer to the growing mystery. The cub was now strong enough to maintain a constant soft communication with its mother, their vocalizations creating a pattern that seemed almost like a conversation. Nora's professional curiosity was piqued by their sophisticated interaction, recognizing that she was witnessing something that went far beyond documented bear behavior. The aurora's light revealed more unusual features in the landscape: cleared paths that had been deliberately concealed, markers that only became visible under certain angles of light, and signs of regular human activity in an area that should have been too remote for frequent visits. The storm's intensity varied, creating windows of visibility that revealed more pieces of the puzzle. During one such moment, they spotted what appeared to be a small structure in the distance, almost completely hidden by the terrain and vegetation. Before they could get a better look, the swirling snow obscured it again. The mother bear's reaction to these discoveries continued to suggest a deeper story. Her comfortable navigation through this seemingly monitored area, her understanding of the markers, and her willingness to trust humans all pointed to previous interactions that had somehow prepared her for this extraordinary day. As they pressed on through the challenging conditions, the group found themselves drawn deeper into a mystery that seemed to grow with each new discovery. The bond between humans and bears had become something more than just a rescue operation. It was now part of a larger narrative that none of them fully understood, but all could sense was significant. The storm's intensity had begun to wane slightly, allowing longer glimpses of the aurora-painted sky above. As their group moved through the transformed landscape, more inexplicable details emerged from the darkness. The mother bear's behavior became increasingly intriguing. She seemed to be leading them along a specific path, one that corresponded with the mysterious markers they'd been discovering. Nora, while monitoring the cub's improving condition, noticed something unusual about the mother bear's injuries. The limp she'd been displaying wasn't from a recent injury, and there were faint scars that suggested previous medical treatment. As a veterinarian, she recognized the careful attention that must have gone into treating those wounds. "Look at this," Jack called out softly, pointing to what appeared to be a sophisticated camera mounted high in a tree, nearly invisible against the bark. The device was weathered but clearly functional, its presence raising more questions about who was monitoring this remote area and why. The mother bear passed beneath it without concern, as if it were a familiar sight. The cub had grown strong enough to maintain a more upright position in its blankets, its small head turning to track movement and sound with increasing alertness. Its interactions with its mother had evolved into a complex series of soft vocalizations and responses that seemed almost like a coded language between them. Through a break in the weather, they spotted more evidence of human activity, a small clearing that had been carefully maintained despite its remote location. The mother bear's path took them along its edge, where Ethan noticed more monitoring equipment partially hidden in the surrounding vegetation. "There's something systematic about all of this," Ethan observed, his voice barely audible above the wind. The placement of the markers, the cameras, the maintained paths, everything suggested a long-term research project of some kind. But if that was the case, Why was it all so carefully concealed? The aurora's shifting lights revealed more details about their surroundings. The seemingly random patterns of cleared brush and marked trees began to form a coherent network, visible only when viewed from certain angles under the celestial light show. The mother bear's confident navigation of these hidden paths suggested long familiarity with this system. Nora's professional curiosity was particularly piqued by a discovery near a marked tree, traces of what appeared to be a feeding station, carefully designed to blend into the natural environment. The sophistication of its construction and placement spoke of deep understanding of bear behavior and habitat. The distant sound of the helicopter returned briefly, its presence now feeling less mysterious and more like part of this hidden operation. The mother bear's lack of reaction to the sound supported the theory that she had regular interaction with human activities in this area. The cub, growing stronger by the hour, began to show interest in these familiar markers as well. Its behavior suggested inherited knowledge, as if the mother bear had somehow passed on her understanding of this human-influenced environment to her offspring. Jack's keen eye caught a glimpse of more sophisticated technology tucked away in the landscape. Weather monitoring stations, motion sensors, and what appeared to be satellite communication equipment, all carefully camouflaged to avoid casual detection. As they followed the mother bear's lead, the group began to understand that they had stumbled upon something much larger than a simple rescue operation. The complex network of monitoring equipment, the bear's unusual behavior, and the regular human presence in this supposedly wild area all pointed to a long-term project of significant scope and importance. The aurora continued to paint the sky in spectacular colors, its light revealing and then hiding different aspects of this mysterious operation. The mother bear moved through it all with practiced ease, leading her human allies and recovered cub through what was clearly a carefully managed wilderness. Their journey had become more than just a story of survival and rescue. It was evolving into a revelation of something much more significant. The bond between the mother bear and her human rescuers seemed to be part of a larger pattern, one that challenged conventional understanding of wildlife behavior and human-animal interaction. The aurora's intensity reached new heights, transforming the forest into a dreamlike landscape of shifting colors and shadows. As they continued their journey, guided by the mother bear's confident navigation, more pieces of the puzzle began falling into place. The sophisticated monitoring equipment, the maintained paths, and the bear's unusual behavior all pointed to something remarkable taking place in these remote mountains. Nora's examination of the cub revealed something she hadn't noticed before, a tiny scar behind its ear, similar to those used for tracking devices in wildlife studies. The mother bear, sensing Nora's discovery, paused and turned toward them, her behavior suggesting not just acceptance but almost an eagerness to share this information. "This is part of something bigger," Ethan realized aloud, his voice filled with wonder. The careful placement of cameras, the hidden feeding stations, the maintained paths, it all suggested a comprehensive wildlife study, but one that went far beyond conventional research methods. The bears weren't just subjects of observation, they were active participants. Jack, examining one of the concealed monitoring stations more closely, noticed sophisticated equipment he recognized from his years working in the Forest Service. "This is government-grade technology," he remarked, "but I've never seen it used quite like this before." The integration of the equipment with the natural environment showed extraordinary attention to detail and respect for the wildlife habitat. The cub, now strong enough to maintain constant awareness of its surroundings, seemed to recognize certain markers along their path. Its behavior mirrored its mother's familiarity with the human elements in their environment, suggesting that this interaction between bears and humans had been ongoing for generations. Through the ethereal light of the aurora, they spotted what appeared to be a small research station, cleverly concealed within the natural landscape. The mother bear's path led directly toward it, her purposeful stride indicating that this was a familiar destination. The structure was designed to blend seamlessly with its surroundings, visible only to those who knew exactly what to look for. Nora's professional expertise helped her understand the significance of what they were witnessing. The bear's behavior, the sophisticated monitoring system, the careful maintenance of the habitat, it all pointed to a groundbreaking approach to wildlife research and conservation. This wasn't just about studying the bears, It was about establishing a cooperative relationship with them. The storm had subsided enough to reveal more details of their surroundings. Hidden paths, carefully maintained feeding areas, and observation points formed an intricate network throughout the forest. The mother bear's confident navigation of these features suggested she was not just aware of them, but was an integral part of whatever study was being conducted. The cub's recovery continued to progress remarkably well, its movements becoming stronger and more coordinated. Its interaction with the human-placed elements in the environment showed an inherited understanding that challenged conventional wisdom about wild animal behavior. This young bear, like its mother, seemed to grasp the concept of cooperation with humans. As they approached the concealed research station, the sound of the helicopter returned, clearer now in the calmer weather. This time, its presence felt less mysterious and more like part of the larger operation they were discovering. The mother bear's calm reaction to the sound confirmed their suspicions about her familiarity with all aspects of this hidden project. The Aurora's light revealed more sophisticated equipment carefully integrated into the landscape. Weather monitoring stations, wildlife tracking systems, and communication devices, all designed to work in harmony with the natural environment. The level of technology and expertise involved suggested significant resources and long-term commitment to whatever research was being conducted. Jack noticed something else. The patterns of cleared paths and maintained areas formed a deliberate network, visible only when viewed as a whole. This wasn't just a random collection of research sites. It was a carefully planned system designed to study and protect the wildlife while maintaining their natural behaviors. Their extraordinary day of rescue and discovery was revealing itself to be part of something even more remarkable, a pioneering approach to wildlife research that had somehow achieved the seemingly impossible, a cooperative relationship between humans and wild bears that respected both species' nature and intelligence. As they neared the concealed research station, the Aurora's ethereal light revealed more than just the physical structure. It illuminated their understanding of everything they had experienced that day. The mother bear's intelligent behavior, her trust in humans, and the sophisticated monitoring system all pointed to a revolutionary wildlife research project that had remained hidden in these mountains. Nora, her veterinary mind racing with the implications of their discoveries, noticed more details about the bear's previous medical care. The healed injuries she had observed earlier showed signs of professional treatment, suggesting regular health monitoring and intervention when necessary. This wasn't just observation, it was complete wildlife care on an unprecedented scale. The cub, now alert and actively observing its surroundings, displayed behavior that seemed almost impossible for a wild animal. It responded to certain markers along their path with familiar interest, suggesting that these human-made elements were as much a part of its natural environment as the trees and rocks. "Look at how the stations are positioned," Jack pointed out, his experienced eye noting the careful placement of each monitoring point. The entire system had been designed to study the bears while allowing them to maintain their natural behaviors. It was a perfect balance of research and respect for wildlife. The mother bear led them along what was clearly a familiar route, her movements suggesting years of comfortable interaction with this hidden research infrastructure. She paused occasionally, seeming to ensure that her human companions noticed particular aspects of their surroundings, almost as if she were sharing her knowledge of the project. Through the dancing lights of the Aurora, they could now see that the research station was larger than it first appeared. Cleverly designed to blend with the natural rock formations, it housed sophisticated equipment while maintaining the appearance of an untouched wilderness. The structure represented years of careful planning and implementation. Ethan's understanding of animal behavior was being challenged and expanded with each new observation. The bear's interaction with the research environment showed levels of intelligence and adaptability that went far beyond what was currently known about wildlife behavior. This hidden project was revolutionizing our understanding of animal cognition. The cub's recovery continued to progress remarkably well. Its movements were stronger, more coordinated, and it maintained constant communication with its mother through soft vocalizations. Their interactions suggested a complex language system that had evolved alongside their unusual relationship with human researchers. The storm had calmed enough to reveal more details of the project's scope. Hidden pathways connected various research points, creating a network that allowed for comprehensive study while preserving the wild nature of the environment. The mother bear navigated these paths with practiced ease, demonstrating her role as not just a subject, but a participant in the research. Nora's professional amazement grew as she noticed more evidence of regular veterinary care throughout the area. Feeding stations were designed to allow for medical observation and treatment when necessary, while specialized cameras monitored the animal's health from a distance. It was a complete wildlife healthcare system hidden in the wilderness. The aurora's shifting colors continued to reveal new aspects of the research facility. Solar panels were cunningly disguised as rock formations, while weather monitoring equipment blended seamlessly with the trees. The level of technology and expertise required for such a project was staggering. As they approached closer to the main structure, the mother bear's behavior became even more revealing. She moved with the confidence of someone returning home, clearly familiar with every aspect of the facility. Her comfort level around human structures challenged everything they thought they knew about wild animal behavior. The implications of what they were discovering were enormous. This wasn't just a wildlife research project, it was a breakthrough in human-animal cooperation, a new understanding of wildlife intelligence, and a model for conservation that could revolutionize how humans interact with the natural world. The aurora's spectacular display illuminated the research facility in an almost magical light, revealing more details of this extraordinary hidden project. The mother bear's confident approach to the main structure made it clear that this was a regular destination for her, a place where the boundaries between wild and human worlds had been carefully reimagined. The cub, still wrapped in thermal blankets but now much more active, began responding to its surroundings in ways that surprised even Nora. It showed recognition of specific features of the facility, its behavior suggesting an inherited familiarity with human structures that should have been impossible for a wild animal. "This explains so much about the bear behavior in this region," Ethan remarked, watching the mother bear navigate the facility's perimeter with practiced ease. The stories he'd heard over the years about unusually intelligent bears in these mountains suddenly made sense. They weren't just random occurrences, but the result of this groundbreaking research project. Jack's experienced eye noticed more sophisticated elements of the facility's design. The careful integration of technology with natural features went beyond simple camouflage. It was a deliberate effort to create an environment where wildlife could interact with research equipment without disrupting their natural behaviors. The mother bear paused near what appeared to be an entrance, turning to look at her human companions with an expression that seemed almost expectant. Her comfort level around the facility suggested years of positive interactions, a relationship built on trust and mutual respect rather than dominance or fear. Through the shifting colors of the aurora, they could see more evidence of the project's scope. The facility housed not just research equipment, but also veterinary supplies, monitoring systems, and what appeared to be sophisticated communication technology. Everything was designed to study and protect the wildlife while maintaining their natural behaviors. Nora's professional assessment of the cub continued to show improvement. Its recovery was progressing remarkably well, aided perhaps by the controlled environment of the research area. The young bear's increasing alertness and strength were testament to both its resilience and the effectiveness of their rescue efforts. The storm had subsided enough to reveal the true extent of the facility's integration with the landscape. Hidden paths, observation points, and monitoring stations formed an intricate network that allowed researchers to study the bears while respecting their wild nature. The mother bear's easy navigation of these features demonstrated how successfully the project had achieved its goals. The helicopter's sound returned briefly, and this time they could see it more clearly through the clearing weather. It was a specialized research aircraft, equipped with monitoring equipment and clearly part of the larger project. The mother bear's calm reaction to its presence confirmed their understanding of her familiarity with all aspects of the operation. As they observed more details of the facility, the true significance of their discovery became clearer. This wasn't just a wildlife research project, it was a pioneering effort to understand and cooperate with wild animals on their own terms. The bears weren't just subjects of study, they were willing participants in a groundbreaking approach to wildlife conservation. The Aurora's light-revealed solar panels cleverly integrated into rock formations, weather monitoring equipment disguised as natural features, and sophisticated tracking systems that blended seamlessly with the environment. The level of technology and expertise involved spoke to the project's importance and the resources dedicated to its success. The Cub's increasing awareness of its surroundings provided more evidence of the project's success. Its behavior showed an innate understanding of the human elements in its environment, suggesting that this cooperation between species had become part of these bears' natural world. Through the clearing storm, and under the spectacular light show above, they began to understand that they had stumbled upon something truly revolutionary. A successful partnership between humans and wild animals that respected both species while advancing our understanding of wildlife behavior and intelligence. The research facility, now fully visible under the brilliant aurora, represented more than just a scientific achievement. It was a testament to the possibility of harmony between humans and wildlife. As the mother bear guided them to what appeared to be a specialized medical area, the full scope of the project's vision became clear. Nora's trained eye recognized the sophisticated veterinary equipment cleverly integrated into what looked like natural rock formations. This wasn't just a basic first aid station, it was a complete wildlife medical facility designed to provide care while maintaining the bear's natural behaviors and instincts. The cub, responding to the familiar environment, showed remarkable improvement. Its movements were stronger, more coordinated, and its interactions with both its mother and the surroundings suggested a deep familiarity with this unique setting. The young bear's recovery was progressing faster than anyone had expected. "They've created something extraordinary here," Ethan observed, watching the mother bear confidently navigate the facility's features. Years of working with animals had taught him to recognize genuine comfort versus trained behavior, and these bears were genuinely at ease in this human-created environment. The storm had calmed significantly, allowing the aurora's light to illuminate more details of their surroundings. Solar-powered monitoring equipment, disguised feeding stations, and sophisticated tracking systems were all carefully integrated into the natural landscape. Every aspect of the facility had been designed to study and protect the wildlife while preserving their natural behaviors. Jack noticed something remarkable about the facility's construction. The materials and design allowed it to withstand the harsh mountain weather while remaining almost invisible to casual observation. It was a perfect blend of human technology and natural camouflage, serving its purpose without disrupting the wilderness. The mother bear's behavior continued to amaze them. She moved through the facility with purpose, occasionally pausing to ensure her human companions noticed particular features. Her actions suggested not just familiarity, but an understanding of the facility's importance to both her and her cub's well-being. Through the dancing lights of the aurora, they could see more evidence of the project's success. Other bears in the distance moved comfortably around similar structures, displaying the same remarkable level of cooperation with human technology. This wasn't an isolated case. It was a systematic achievement in wildlife research and conservation. Nora's professional amazement grew as she discovered more about the facility's capabilities. The medical area included equipment for remote health monitoring, allowing researchers to track the bear's well-being without direct intervention unless necessary. It was a revolutionary approach to wildlife veterinary care. The cub's increasing strength allowed it to show more interest in its surroundings. Its behavior mirrored its mother's comfort with the facility, suggesting that this unusual relationship with human structures was indeed being passed down through generations of bears in the area. As they explored more of the facility, the helicopter made another pass overhead, this time clearly visible through the clearing weather. They could see the sophisticated monitoring equipment mounted on its exterior, tools designed to study and protect the wildlife from a respectful distance. The aurora's ethereal display continued to reveal new aspects of the project with each passing moment. Hidden pathways connected various research points, creating a network that allowed for comprehensive study while preserving the wild nature of the environment. The bears moved through these paths as naturally as they would any forest trail. What they had stumbled upon was more than just a wildlife research station. It was a glimpse into the future of conservation, where technology and nature worked in harmony and where humans could study and protect wildlife without disrupting their natural behaviors. The aurora borealis reached a crescendo of brilliance, painting the sky with waves of green, purple, and blue that seemed to dance in celebration of the day's extraordinary events. The mother bear and her cub, now fully alert and significantly recovered, stood together near the facility's entrance, their silhouettes framed against the spectacular celestial display. The cub's transformation was remarkable. From its near-tragic situation in the frozen lake to its current state of active awareness, the young bear's recovery spoke volumes about both its resilience and the effectiveness of their rescue efforts. Nora watched with professional pride as it moved with increasing strength, its movements now coordinated and purposeful. The storm had almost completely subsided, leaving behind a crystalline clarity to the air that made the aurora's display even more spectacular. The research facility, no longer obscured by swirling snow, revealed itself fully in the ethereal light. Solar panels glinted like precious stones, and sophisticated monitoring equipment blended seamlessly with the natural landscape. "It's like they've created a bridge between two worlds," Ethan observed, watching the mother bear navigate the facility's features with practiced ease. The bear's behavior demonstrated a level of comfort with human structures that went beyond mere habituation. It showed genuine understanding and cooperation. Jack's expertise in forestry helped him appreciate the intricate design of the facility. Every structure, every piece of equipment had been positioned to serve its purpose while maintaining the natural flow of wildlife movement. It was a masterclass in harmonious integration of technology and wilderness. The mother bear's attention was focused on her cub, but she maintained a remarkable awareness of her human companions. Her occasional glances in their direction carried what seemed like gratitude, an emotion that shouldn't have been possible to read in a wild animal's eyes, yet was unmistakably present. Through the brilliant display of the northern lights, they could see other bears in the distance, moving naturally among the research structures. Each animal displayed the same remarkable level of comfort with the human elements in their environment, suggesting that this project had achieved something truly revolutionary in wildlife behavior studies. Nora's scientific mind was racing with the implications of what they had discovered. The sophisticated veterinary facilities, the bears' inherited understanding of human structures, the successful integration of technology with natural behaviors, it all pointed to a breakthrough in wildlife conservation that could change the field forever. The cub, now strong enough to move more independently, stayed close to its mother but showed increasing interest in its surroundings. Its behavior suggested an innate understanding of the research facility's features, demonstrating how this unique environment had become part of these bears' natural world. As the aurora's lights danced overhead, the mother bear led them to what appeared to be an observation point. The view from this location was spectacular, offering a panoramic view of the research area and the surrounding wilderness. It was a perfect vantage point to appreciate the scale of what had been achieved here. The facility's design revealed itself as a masterpiece of environmental integration. Hidden pathways connected various research stations, each one carefully camouflaged, yet perfectly positioned for its purpose. The bears moved through this network as naturally as they would through any forest trail. The helicopter made one final pass overhead, its specialized equipment catching the aurora's light. The aircraft's presence now felt like a natural part of this extraordinary environment, just another element in this carefully orchestrated dance between technology and nature. What they had witnessed was more than just a successful rescue operation or the discovery of a secret research facility. They had stumbled upon a vision of the future, one where humans and wildlife could coexist in harmony, each benefiting from the other's presence while maintaining their essential nature. The aurora borealis reached its magnificent peak, transforming the night sky into a symphony of dancing lights. Colors cascaded across the heavens in waves of green, purple, and blue, creating a magical backdrop for the conclusion of their extraordinary day. The mother bear and her fully recovered cub stood at the edge of the research facility, their shapes silhouetted against the spectacular light show. The young bear had made a remarkable recovery. Now standing steadily on its own feet, it moved with the natural confidence of its species, showing no lasting effects from its near-tragic experience in the frozen lake. Nora watched with professional satisfaction as the cub interacted with its mother, their movements and vocalizations displaying the complex communication she had observed throughout their journey. The storm had completely cleared, leaving behind a pristine winter landscape bathed in the aurora's ethereal light. The research facility, no longer hidden by swirling snow, stood as a testament to human ingenuity and respect for nature. Every element, from the solar panels to the monitoring equipment, blended seamlessly with the wilderness while serving its vital purpose. The mother bear's behavior in these final moments was perhaps the most remarkable of all. She moved with deliberate purpose, leading her cub in a circuit of the facility that seemed almost like a demonstration. Her occasional glances at her human rescuers carried an unmistakable intelligence, as if ensuring they understood the significance of what they had discovered. Through the spectacular light display, other bears could be seen moving naturally among the research structures. Each animal demonstrated the same extraordinary level of comfort with human technology, confirming that what they had witnessed wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a larger success story in wildlife conservation. The cub, now fully alert and curious, explored its surroundings with growing confidence. Its behavior mirrored its mother's familiarity with the facility, suggesting that this unique relationship with human structures would continue into the next generation. The young bear's recovery and subsequent behavior represented hope for the future of human-wildlife cooperation. As the aurora's light reached its crescendo, the mother bear made one final gesture that left them speechless. She approached each of her human rescuers in turn, maintaining a respectful distance, but clearly acknowledging their role in saving her cub. The moment transcended the traditional boundaries between humans and wildlife, touching something deeper and more profound. With the grace of wild creatures, the mother bear and her cub finally turned toward the forest. They paused at the tree line, their forms illuminated by the dancing lights above, offering one last look at their human allies. Then, with natural dignity, they disappeared into the wilderness that was their home, leaving behind an indelible impression on those who had shared in their extraordinary story. The research facility stood as a beacon of hope in the wilderness, its presence promising a future where humans and wildlife could coexist in harmony. The sophisticated technology, carefully integrated into the natural environment, represented a new chapter in conservation efforts, one where respect and understanding bridged the gap between species. As the aurora continued its celestial dance, Ethan, Nora, and Jack stood in contemplative silence, absorbing the magnitude of what they had witnessed. Their day had begun with a desperate rescue mission and ended with a discovery that challenged everything they thought they knew about wildlife behavior and conservation. The night sky's natural light show seemed to celebrate their experience, its colors reflecting off the snow-covered landscape in a dazzling display. The bear's departure under this spectacular illumination felt like nature's way of blessing the union of human compassion and wildlife intelligence they had witnessed. This remarkable day had shown them a glimpse of what was possible when humans approached wildlife with respect and understanding. The research facility, the bear's behavior, and their successful rescue operation all pointed to a future where technology and nature could work together in perfect harmony. Their adventure had transcended a simple rescue mission, becoming instead a testament to the possibilities that arise when humans and wildlife find common ground. As they prepared to return to their own world, they carried with them the knowledge that somewhere in these mountains, a revolutionary approach to conservation was bridging the gap between species, one bear at a time. Dear listeners, we hope this extraordinary tale of rescue, discovery, and cooperation between humans and wildlife has touched your hearts as deeply as it touched ours. The story of the mother bear, her cub, and their human rescuers reminds us of the amazing possibilities that exist when we approach nature with respect and understanding. If this journey through the aurora-lit mountains of Montana has moved you, we invite you to join us for more incredible stories that explore the wonders of our natural world. You'll find our specially curated playlist of similar inspiring tales by clicking the link to your left. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this remarkable story. Every day, we bring you unique narratives that challenge our understanding of the world around us and inspire hope for a future where humans and nature can thrive together. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear how this story resonated with you. Together, we're building a community of nature lovers and storytellers who believe in the power of understanding and protecting our magnificent wildlife. Join us tomorrow for another unforgettable journey into the heart of nature's mysteries. The wonders never cease, and neither do our stories. We'll be waiting for you.